heavy gunfire. Meanwhile, fighting in the capital Mogadishu has reportedly injured dozens of people. More than 50 African Union peacekeepers have been killed in the unrest in the last 2 weeks alone. Over 2,000 UN soldiers and 2 combat helicopters will join the peacekeeping effort in Côte d'Ivoire. It's hoped the reinforcements will prevent the standoff between rival leaders Laurent Gbagbo and Alassane Ouattara from tipping into a full-scale civil war. Some of the fiercest fighting happened in a suburb of Abidjan on Thursday, where at least 6 female demonstrators were killed. Our correspondent Mohamed Ado has more.
The chairman of the African Union Commission, John Ping, is in the country to try and advance his organization's mediation efforts to try and break the political stalemate in Ivory Coast. He has already met incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo, and he's also set to meet Alassane Ouattara, who's been recognized by the United Nations as the man who won the elections that were held in this country in November. Though they have been going on for the past 3 months, the African Union mediation efforts in Ivory Coast have had no results. The African countries have also not been speaking with one voice, with South Africa, one of the countries that has considered the leadership of the African Union, saying that the elections that were held in Ivory Coast were inconclusive. And all this now is making people here in Ivory Coast, to a certain extent, lose hope that the mediation efforts would result in a breakthrough and a resolution to their country's political stalemate. And this is one of the reasons, analysts say, why people on both sides of the political divide here in the Ivory Coast have begun arming themselves.
In India's financial capital, Mumbai, thousands of people have lost their homes after a fire engulfed the Garib Nagar slum near Bandra railway station. The area is home to around 10,000 people. No one's thought to have died in the blaze. A national period of mourning has been announced in Nepal after the 2-time former Prime Minister Krishna Prasad Bhattarai died at the age of 87. Bhattarai led a popular movement to restore multi-party democracy twice in the 1990s. Also in Nepal, the country's Maoist parties agreed to join a coalition government. It ends a month of political deadlock in the former Himalayan kingdom, which is still struggling to recover from its civil war. Sabina Shrestha reports from the capital, Kathmandu.
Prabha Kharka lost her husband 5 years ago in Nepal's last revolution.
At that time, everyone was protesting. My husband also joined. He used to say that we have to protest for the country, for the people and for freedom.
Pradyumna Kharka was shot dead by security forces on the 20th of April 2006. He's remembered as a martyr. After 10 years of civil war with Maoist rebels and governed by an unpopular autocratic monarch, people were angry. Opposition leaders promised to bring peace and address the country's problems. The state retaliated with violence.
This was the intersection where Pradyumna was shot. Back in 2006, there were hundreds of thousands of people on this ring road surrounding the capital. After 19 days of protest, they managed to topple the royal government. It was a time of great optimism. But 5 years and 4 prime ministers on, people have started to question the success of the movement.
Prabha is greatly disappointed.
So many people were sacrificed, so many people were wounded, and now all that the leaders want is political power. When I think back on it, my heart becomes so heavy.
After the People's Movement, the monarchy was abolished. This used to be the royal palace. Now it's the foreign ministry. These people are queuing for passports. Almost 1,000 people leave the country every day in search of a better future. Suresh Chowdhury has come to Kathmandu from the countryside to get his documents.
There is no possibility of getting employment in this country. We've got democracy, but so what?
Service is poor. Like so much else in Nepal, it can be a frustrating experience.
At the time of a movement, there's always this euphoria and a sense that you can do anything. But I think almost what's more important is who organizes the reality that comes after the movement. The political parties and the Maoists who have been in charge of restructuring Nepal have not done a very sincere job.
5 years on, the optimism has given way to disillusionment. After all the promises of those 19 days of revolutionary drama, the process of enacting real reform has proved much more difficult. Sabina Shrestha, AlJazeera, Kathmandu.
Italy's Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi says he'll defend himself in court, providing he doesn't have to show up more than once a week. Berlusconi stands accused of fraud and embezzlement over the acquisition of television rights for his Mediaset empire. He faces a separate trial in April on charges that he paid for sex with an underage pole dancer. In New York, an investment fund manager pleaded not guilty to leading the largest insider trading ring in history. Raj Rajaratnam is accused of soliciting information from workers of publicly traded companies. Prosecutors say the founder of the Galleon Fund made $45 million. And in Arizona, more murder charges have been filed against a gunman who went on a shooting spree. Jared Luffner is already accused of attempting to murder U.S. Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. The 22-year-old faces the death penalty if convicted of killing 6 people and wounding 13 in Tucson 2 months ago. In California, a protest by the right-wing Tea Party movement has provoked an outcry from the Muslim community. Rob Reynolds has the story from Yorba Linda in Orange County.
Anti-Muslim protesters hurl insults and abuse at people attending an Islamic charity fundraiser in Yorba Linda, California. The February 13th incident is seen by area Muslims as new and disturbing evidence of Islamophobia among some sections in America's right-wing Tea Party movement. Shahid Hussein took his family to the charity event.
This is the first time in America I get scared for my children.
They're saying go back home and get out of our country and all that.
Makes me feel that I'm I don't belong here, and I'm not wanted.
What was perhaps most disturbing for the people who were here that night was learning that an elected public official at the protest rally appeared to be calling for violence against Muslims.
I don't even care if you think I'm crazy anymore.
That's Deborah Pauly, a Republican and member of the nearby Villa Park City Council.
I know quite a few Marines who will be very happy to help these terrorists to an early meeting in paradise.
Conservative Tea Party activists who organized the protest say it was meant to condemn the presence of speakers at the fundraiser, including Siraj Wahhaj. U.S. prosecutors had linked Wahhaj to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, but he was never charged and has denied any involvement.
We are here to declare that radical Islam, Sharia, is not welcome in our communities.
Lugo and others at the rally have tried to distance themselves from the more outspoken protesters.
None of the organizers knew who any of them were.
25-year-old Maheen Siddiqui attended the fundraiser.
It was really scary because at one point they started banging on the windows when people were praying, banging the walls with their shoes.
But she says she and others in the community will not be intimidated.
Just because I'm a Muslim doesn't make me any less American.
Rob Reynolds, AlJazeera, Yorba Linda, California.
Finally, what's pink, green and silver and speeds by at more than 300 kilometers per hour? It's not a bird or a plane. It's Japan's latest bullet train. With its trademark snout, the Hayabusa or Falcon train pulled out of Tokyo Station on Saturday.